All right, let's go into some money and relationships, George. Category number 1 is family. Ooh. And, when you get into inheritances, properties, if parents pass away, your adult kids are now dealing with the money situation and all of it.
Wills, who was in the will, who's getting what, who should get what. And if it's not clear, that's where a lot of the kind of family conflict starts to arise.
The question and the tension, yeah. Yeah, it's either conflict or it's just completely stressful because no one knows where anything is, right? So I do think there is something to be said to sit down and have a conversation with your family about this. It's a really loving thing to do, right? I'm like, and I know people watching this are either like the adult children. Maybe they're not at the age where they're going to do this. Maybe you are. I don't know. But just being able to say, here's what's going to be going on in the family. That's a very kind thing for parents to do, age appropriately. But once your kids hit adult age,
have open conversations about this. Don't let it be a surprise. And then a few checkpoints. Make sure that you have a will in place. If you're an adult, you need a will. Regardless of who you are, what you're in, any of that, you need a will. Saying, here's my wishes. I know it's not fun. Get it done. You can do it online. Number 2, you need term life insurance if you have someone that relies on your income, which would be spouse or kids.
Yes.
Get that in place and make it very clear on who's getting what. We've had calls on the Ramsey show where they're like, hey, there's a property, it's a cabin, and it's split between my 5, my dad and his 4 siblings. And when they pass it to us, it's going to go to like the 20 cousins. And I'm like, don't overcomplicate things.
Right.
Make it simple, and you get to do what you want. If one of your kids has terrible habits and you don't want to give money to them, you don't have an obligation to give money to them.
Right.
And if you want to split it evenly amongst all the kids, great. If you want to give it all to charity and give nothing to your kids, you can do that too.
Yeah, but communicate it is the key there. Okay, next, handling money differently than your in-laws.
Ooh.
We get this call on the Ramsey show a lot. And I think the rub is, because to me, I'm like, we're always going to do things differently than all of our, even like my parents, right? Like, not just the money, but the way you raise your kids, what you let them do or don't do, how you discipline. I'm like, your life decisions are going to be different than your parents and your in-laws, period, right? So I think we all need to be comfortable with that. I think it's when they're not respectful of said decisions.
Boundaries or decisions.
Yeah, and a lot of it, what we hear on the Ramsey show is even like trips, like, hey, we're trying to get out of debt, and our in-laws are guilting us into going on this trip, and they're not paying for it. We have to pay for it, but we don't have the money right now. Like, it's this whole like tension, right? I think that's where I see it the most is like in-laws are wanting to do something.
Or like the daughter, like the mom told the daughter, hey, here's what you should do. But the husband disagrees. And now it's like mother-in-law versus husband.
You know what they call that? Triangling.
Triangling. Is that a therapy term?
Yes. Yep. Don't triangle. Don't triangle.
And it gets messy. So what do we usually tell them? Here's what I would say is this is between the daughter and the mom. The husband, the in-law son, should not get involved and be like, hey, mother-in-law, here's
in what? What are you talking about?
In the conversation
about what?
Boundaries.
The vacation? Oh, boundaries.
About whatever the boundary is.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah,
Whatever
when you're having the boundary
is,
conversation, yes. Family on family. Do family on family.
Yes, family on family.
Yeah.
I don't think as the son-in-law, I should get involved.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think it's cleaner. Yes. If you go to your
But it's tough because you're pinning
paternal,
two people,
maternal parent.
Who do you listen to? Mom, who I love and trust, or husband, who I'm doing life with? And you have to go, all right, we disagree on this as a couple, so therefore we need to be aligned. Yes. The couple needs to be aligned first.
100%.
And so it can get awkward.
Tricky.
But we say, like, just set boundaries. It's a really difficult conversation to have with someone who's not ready to hear that or will not understand that or take that to heart.
Yes, 100%.
Because they then have to respect the boundary, and if they don't, you then have to distance and go, okay, they don't respect the boundary, we can't do this.
Keep going down this road because it's not going to be good. Ugh. I know, that's hard. It's so hard. All right, next, aging parents or aging single relatives. So again, you're having to maybe take care of what is happening with the aging parents, but they could be reluctant.
Like you want to help, and they go, no, I'm fine. I'll deal with it.
Yep.
Ooh,
and at that point, you can't control them, so it's like, all right, we're gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's out of a good place. They don't want to be a burden, but if you're really wanting to help and you have the ability to help, whether that's with your time, your resources, your money, then do it. Do it as a gift. Do it out of the kindness of your heart. No ulterior motives. But we get this call a lot where they go, my parents haven't saved a dime for retirement. they're broke and I'm worried it's going to become my problem.
Yes.
What do we do?
Yes.
And so step one is you need to have this conversation with them and say, do you realize where you're at financially? Here's what I'm seeing. And not out of a place of judgment, out of a place of I love you as my parents. I want to see you guys be able to retire with dignity and have the best life possible. Here's what I'm thinking.
Yep.
And they have to be open to it. You can't force them.
No, not at all. And at the end of the day, they have to make decisions. And I think if there's a willingness there to say, oh, yeah, let's try to do something differently, and you're able to help, stepping in and guiding that. But then after a while, it is like, oh my gosh, they're just going to blow the money. Like, what do we do, right? So I think that that's a hard thing. That's a hard conversation. And responsibility that you feel as a kid, right, when you're watching your parents making harmful decisions for themselves. But yeah, it's tough. That's a tough one. All right, next category, coworkers.
Ooh.
So coworkers hanging out outside of work, or everyone's like, let's go get lunch out.
This is you and me.
Some people are like,
Rachel wants to go to the fancy restaurant, get all the apps, get desserts. YOLO.
But you know, a lot of people that we talk to that are doing the Ramsey plan, they're getting out of debt. They'll talk about this, that other coworkers go out to lunch all the time. And they're like, I'm just not spending money going out to lunch every day. Like, I'm going to
And then how do you say no without being the fuddy-duddy?
I know.
And you're like, no, I'm good. And like, come on, just come out. Like, we'll cover it. And you're like, no, I'm good. Do you say yes?
Cover it?
What if they say they'll cover it?
Sure. Thanks.
Absolutely. Rachel's taking a free meal.
No, I do think after a while, though, if you build a relationship and know enough of like, oh yeah, they're getting out of debt, or there's a purpose why.
Yeah.
You know, usually, or maybe you just don't like your coworkers.
And you can share that. It could be a great way to share, like, hey, I'm doing this plan, and right now I'm trying this no spend month.
Yes.
And they're like, what? Tell me more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get out of debt. So.
But it is hard. I do know friends that have been in the same type of environment, and one just keeps getting promoted, right? And then it is this like, oh my gosh, difference in salary too, even within the company.
Your budget's different on how much you can spend eating out compared to the other person.
How about obligatory gifts for coworkers or leaders at work?
Yeah, meal trains, that's a big one.
Yes, I do love a meal train. I try to do it. I'm not always great at following through, but I think it is one of the biggest blessings to do for someone.
You did our meal train when we had Mia. You came by and brought us a great meal. Yes. You brought a great gift. So thank you for that.
You're so welcome, George.